ship final now. Out they come.
Bruno, Cugnetto and Tony Wedlock. This is a similar deal to the door slammers. Cugnetto is a rookie, first year in. Wedlock is one of the most experienced racers in pro stock in this country. This should be a pearler. Now Wedlock, he'll look after it on the lights. He will be looking for a big hole shot.
Okay, lining up. Cugnetto against Wedlock.
I think we'll probably see a staging duel here. Cugnetto's gone in, Wedlock's taking his time, he's making the rookie sweat.
Now, just explain that to the people right around Australia quickly.
Well, Cugnetto's gone in, wants to keep his revs up. Wedlock's got 20 seconds in which he has, before he needs to go in to obey the rules. Now, Cugnetto's there. The rev's going up and down, Cugnetto's, well, he's being psyched out. Wedlock's working on him. Look at it. The master, he's really taking his time. Now he's in.
Yeah, my game went on, and away they go. Wedlock, oh, he comes back. Cugnetto comes back, and he's halfway down. No one to do it. Wedlock runs away with that, and there was a mind game on the line.
The start line was what won it for Tony Wedlock, a 7.94 for Wedlock, 7.95 Cugnetto, and you could see it, a clear advantage to Tony Wedlock. The mind games, the psych out, that's what it was about in Pro Stock final.
Yeah, he won the game in the head, and he also won the game with the brain and the foot because he got away so quickly.
The qualifying was jammed in there. They had the top dozen cars all within about a tenth of a second. We'll see if there's any gamesmanship between the two veteran drivers. John Force in the left lane, Cruz, Pedregon on the right for the 116th time in competition. Cruz puts out the top light. So does John. Oh, look at this. John blinked the bulb and Cruz went red. Oh, man. They both sat in pre-stage for a second. Cruz went in, rolled in deep, knocked out the top light. The bottom blue will come on. There's Cruz. The top goes out. That's deep. John goes in. His light blinked, and Cruz took off. John Force gets maybe the wackiest starting line win we've seen in a while. The light blinked. And when you're Cruz, or anybody for that matter, you are locked in on the Christmas tree. Any flash of anything is going to send you on your way. And that's exactly what happened.
Hole shots, and he has been drilling the tree. Watch for the reaction time as these guys pre-stage, and here we go. We've got a staging duel going. The clock is running. The crowd's getting into it. They have to get the calendar up before long. We're up to a minute 12. Rick's taking a seat. I got all the time in the world, boys. There he goes. Warren's in. And red light for Connelly. It pays off for the professor. Warren then runs a 7:13 at 193, and Grumpy has to smile at that.
Warren Johnson got your first win at this racetrack. The professor, did you take that young man to school? Did you plan on doing that?
Well, it took so long I had to sip a Powerade first. Well, I don't know if I took him to school, but I taught that punk a lesson.
Talk about the domination with Allan Johnson up here on the mountain. Larry Morgan, though, has been running very well. Been running the numbers right there with him. And Larry taking out Erica in the semifinals. That was a big race for him.
Can the Fire 8 driver douse the king of the mountain? We're about to find out. Nobody in any hurry here to get into the stage beams. Look at the duel, now over 23, 24, 25 seconds.
Both these guys are pretty stubborn.
Mark Lyle, he says, go at it, boys. Just remember the epic one between Warren Johnson and Dave Connolly. WJ ended up calling him a punk, but these are two veterans. And this is getting interesting. 45 seconds now.
How about the Mets, Dave?
Yeah, sounds like they did pretty well today. Your Yanks won as well. We got all kinds of time to talk about the other things that are going on.
And the Dodgers, man, what happened to them?
Mark Lyle digging his heels in. At what point does he step up and say, all right, boys, enough is enough. Let's settle this. Now approaching a minute 15. Fans are going crazy. Roy likes it. Boy, do what you got to do. You know Larry Morgan's would be like, I'm good.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, they're both pretty stubborn. It'll be interesting to see who goes in first.
Now over 1:30.
There goes
Finally, Allan's in. Morgan has 7 seconds to go. It takes almost all of that, and we're away.
Oh, and Morgan gets the advantage.
Look out! Did the King of the Mountain just get knocked off his top? Yes, he did.
Man.
Larry Morgan on a hole shot.
Oh man, was that classic or what?
That had everything going for it. And look at Diane at the back of the starting line.
The late Scott Geoffrion and Warren Johnson, they had some classic battles.
Watch who moves
staging
first.
duels, but Allan went in first. Larry Morgan, as soon as he put in.
The blue team out of Odessa. They've got a silver car back here too with his dad in it. They were 1 thou apart in qualifying, and that's why I think that the starting line could play the difference here. Bruno on the left side making a cameo appearance, and Mason McGaha in the right side. First pair, first round, pro stock at the Menard NHRA Nationals presented by Pedregon. And we've got a burn down already. Brad Hardy, the official starter, just giving him a little bit of a, come on, guys. Hey, my plane don't leave till Tuesday, and I'm going straight to Brainerd, so I got nothing but time. Still nobody making the move. This would be a good time for Brad to get a director's chair down there. And still we wait. Sooner or later, somebody's going to have to go in. Sooner or later, somebody's got to stage. They can't sit there forever. Brad is giving a little bit more of a direct order down there right now. There's no rule that says you have to stage first or second. There is a rule that says you must follow the starter's instructions. They have been ordered to stage. Let's see if that works. And Brad's had enough. Shutting them off. There comes a time when you want to race or you go home. And Brad has had enough. After all that time sitting there, after being ordered to stage, and still nobody would move, and we're going to shut him off and push him off the starting line. As I said, there's no rule that says anybody has to stage first, but there is a rule about following the starter's instructions. Well, it has been a long time since this has happened, but the official ruling, it is a double disqualification. They refused to stage, refused to follow the starter's instructions. Both drivers are disqualified. If you don't want to race, get out of the way. Let's find somebody that does. Down to Joe.
Down here with a head starter, Brad Hardy. Brad, a historic burn down staging duel, but ultimately you made the call. Tell us.
Well, it's been too long. We got too much stuff going on out here, and we don't have time to play the games. I mean, eventually one of them's going to get too hot, stop leaking, so we just had to shut them off, and they're done.
And they are both disqualified. Confirm that.
Yes, they are both out.
There you have it, Allan.
A double disqualification for refusing to follow the starter's orders. And you know what that means? That means somebody's going to get a bye run in round number 2.
Everybody's stacked up on that side of the racetrack. Jackson's guys are stacked up behind him, and now the two drivers sit. This is going to be good. Both of these guys have iron will, and they are unshakable nerve-wise. Both of them are going to sit here and melt them to the ground. I guarantee you that Jonathan Gray, and you can see Matt Smith got his hands up in the air, and they are not going to move for anybody. Ricky Smith has pulled the headset back down over his ears. I'm going to watch Ricky, and we're going to find out who's going in first, as they are going to sit there and continue to idle the supercharged engine, drinking alcohol, building heat into the supercharger as it sits here. The nitrous engine also beginning to get warm, all 903 cubic inches of it, and still we sit. Both Pro Mods sitting here at idle. No one has even revved the motor yet to try to clear it out. Jackson has not moved an inch, Mike Giddings has not moved an inch, and Jonathan Gray has not even begun to think about putting a car into the fully staged position yet. Ricky Smith just pulled the headset off for the second time. And there they go, they're going both. Starting line advantage goes to Jackson, 018 to the 26 and Jonathan Gray. 8th mile, quarter mile stripe, it's gonna be Jonathan Gray. 580 with a 9 at 250 miles an hour as Steve Jackson goes 581 with an 8, 248. And Jonathan Gray, on the strength of a Ricky Smith tune-up and 903 cubic inches of Pat Musey mountain engine, has claimed his first victory of the season in the J&A Service Pro Mod category.
Actually, the very first time I've ever sat down and talked to anybody about this on camera. He and I have never talked about it, and I think it'll be interesting to see what he has to say.
When we raced Clay at first round at Reading, Pennsylvania in 2002.
This is on live television. Everything's normal. There was no words exchanged, nothing out of the ordinary until both of us turned on the pre-stage light.
I'd actually pulled the car on the high side and I was ready to stage, and then when I saw he wasn't going to stage, and I trimmed it back and pushed the clutch back in.
There is no rule who has to go first or second, but I made my mind up that he was going to stage first.
I decided I wasn't going to stage, and
he's got his pre-stage on, I got my pre-stage on, and we sat there for a little while.
I wasn't going to stage first. It was being hard-headed, pretty much.
And I honestly could hear the crowd in the grandstand, sold-out race, starting to make noise above two 8,000 horsepower top fuel cars.
So we sat there and sat there and sat there.
Shake on the clutch. We sat there long enough, it was just quivering.
I mean, it was long. It was too long.
A normal run for a top fuel car from the time you start it, do the burnout stage, and make the run is a minute 25 or something like that. And we sat still for a minute 20 seconds.
We sat there long enough that the cars were going to blow up.
Rick Stewart, who is the official starter for the NHRA, came into my vision. I knew right away he was not a happy man.
The starter made the decision to shut us off, which was a good decision.
Rick Stewart was starting to give me the cut the car off signal in a very, very unhappy fashion, I might add.
So they shut us off. I got out of the car.
Doug comes over to my car, has a few choice words.
I walked over to Clay and I said, hey, you know, what's the problem here? What's going on? And I was pissed.
The honest truth is, I stood there and just listened. He's on one side of the race car and I'm on the other at my car. Well, my team owner at the time was a young guy named Peter Lehman. He's not a very big guy. He goes over and kind of shoved Doug.
And I turned around, it was a little bit shocking, and he's going, come on, bring it on. Well, I don't need to be asked twice, and so, wham, I mean, I went after him.
I ran around the other side of the car, and nobody ever traded licks, but we pushed and shoved.
The problem is I think I got a little bit of a bad rep because not everybody saw that he hit me first, you know.
I don't know about Doug, I can't answer for him, but I was given a nice talking to by the NHRA. I was not fined, but I was certainly given a talking to that I won't forget anytime soon.
Eliminator, the reigning Winston champ Warren Johnson doing an aggressive burnout with his GM Performance Parts Cutlass. In the opposite lane, Scott Geoffrion, who used to drive one of the Johnson team cars a couple of years ago, is at the wheel of the Mopar Parts Dodge Daytona. 99-inch wheelbase he's referring to is the length of the wheelbase on the Daytona he is currently driving. Both cars in the pre-stage beams. They are just sitting there. And they continue to sit there. Buster Couch, the starter for NHRA, looking on. You see the cars just basically are idling. No high RPM. Buster looking and making no move yet. Shaking his head a little bit. And now Buster Couch starts to move forward. What's he going to tell him? He'll put him in the beams, I would guess. Yes, that's the indication to stage the race car. The lights at the top of the tree tell the story. Nobody is moving. Got Geoffrion wants some respect. Now Buster is walking out. They can't use the excuse, and he's backing him up. He says, that's it. You're going to go back and go to the penalty box for a little while. Both the cars moving back. The crowd is going crazy with this action as Buster Couch has pulled Warren Johnson and Scott Geoffrion back off the starting line, told them to shut the engines off, and is going to have a word with both drivers. Now, this is not the first time this has happened. We have seen it before, and the reasons are primarily psychological. One driver wants to stage last. Well, maybe the other driver wants to stage last as well, and that's what happens when you get into this situation. Now they say, let's start them back up, and we'll try it one more time. Scott knows Warren Johnson, and he knows that the reigning Winston champ likes to stage last. But keep one thing in mind. If one driver stages, that puts the pressure on the other driver. That driver has to stage within a period of time, or the starter will throw the switch. And if the second car isn't in the beams, the red light comes on and he is disqualified. Who knows what's going to happen here? Let's just watch. Who's going to go in first? The motors are at least up off of idle at the moment. It's Warren Johnson going in first. Scott Geoffrion may have staged last, but he got to the finish line last as well as Warren Johnson prevailed with low elapsed time of eliminations, a 7:07 at 196 miles an hour plus.
I'm sure it was not either of your intentions, but you had this crowd absolutely berserk. We could hear him clear down here.
The kid's just a jerk out there just trying to play his game. You better learn how to drive a race car before he starts playing games like that.
Well, it looked like both of you were playing the game. Anybody can stage at any time.
Huh. I don't have to stage last or first. I'll stage when I'm ready.
Warren Johnson wins it. And he's hot.
Well, Scott Geoffrion may have lost the race, but it appears he got to Warren just a little bit as they continue to have work.